citizens of football land, and turn on the Jets. Welcome in. It's Buck the Trend / the GOJ Pod. Welcome in, Will. What's going on, Will? How you doing?
I'm good. My voice is pretty shot, mentally fried, but the Jets won, and I'm on 3 hours of sleep. Still got to the gym this morning because that's what we do here. When the Jets win, we feel like we have superpowers, and when the Jets lose, we find our 13 reasons why.
That is honestly a perfect summary of being a Jets fan these last few years. What a ridiculous game. We got to obviously talk through it here. And again, you're going to have perfect perception of what happened, particularly on the Garrett Wilson play, because you were pretty close to it. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
First, man, what a weird first half that was. It was such a long first half, too. It felt like both teams were kind of struggling through, which is typical for a Thursday night game, right? But what are your thoughts on how that first half went? A lot of the struggles that they had on offense and just kind of the weird game in general from the defense that, it kind of started off as where they're getting some stops. They looked a lot better, but it just seemed like, all of the snowballing that typically happens started to pop back up.
Yeah, I've talked a lot about this on various stuff, whether it's All 32, TOJ Talks, TOJ, whatever it is that the Jets have not handled adversity well this year. I actually feel like under Ulbrich, they've started quite well. They've been out to almost 2 touchdown leads or 2 possession leads in pretty much all the games, or they've come out somewhat good, especially on offense. Downing, the scripting's been better and all these different things. So like Rodgers said it himself. There was 2 quotes I think that stood out the most about last night with Rodgers. One, he said, Rodgers like, not every time you get a real quote. These were 2 pretty honest quotes. He was like, I was effing terrible. He's like, that's the worst. That's some of the worst football I've ever played in my career. And he's right. He was awful in the first half. He couldn't figure it out. Brees has a drop every first drive. Devontae and Mike Williams were open multiple back-to-back drives, and he just missed them. And it's just off. Rodgers was just, he's furious with himself. It wasn't the classic Rodgers where he's mad at somebody else. He was just like freaking out that first third of Devontae. He knew it. And the defense was awesome. The first 3 drives, I believe, really awesome. And hitting the quarterback, hitting Stroud, they forced the fumble on the one drive. They give up any type of yardage. And you're like, all right, then we're in front of kind of a little bit of a dogfight here. And it's kind of what maybe expected and all that stuff. And then Jets finally get something going on offense. They get down there and obviously get the Corley play. And I talked to Meeks about this morning. We were texting back and forth. I was just like, hey, trying to get Meeks to buy in. He was, sleepy Meeks. And he was like, if they win in Arizona, but he's like, anyone with their right mind saw the Corley play and said this game's over, because this is what's happened to them week after week is there's one play or one moment or 1 or 2 moments. And the Jets go down. Morstead gets the 75-yard punt. They get a stop, and then the 75-yard punt. And you're like, what's going on here? This is just a weird game. I can't figure it out. And the 90-yard, 8-yard drive happens. And Rodgers' quote was, we could have packed it in at halftime. Yeah. Like there was a chance there that that was it. This was their season. They pack it in here and coast to the bye, and we start to have the conversations Joe and Connor mentioned with Rodgers and all these different stuff. Yeah. They didn't do that. And the second half was a totally different football team. And I feel like, I know it's cliche, the turning point in a season and all these different things. It's felt like, Dan, and I'm sure you feel this way, for the last month, the amount of pressure on this team, they find a different way to lose every week. There's, kicking stuff and calamity of errors. And there were some calamity of errors, no doubt about it, tonight. But it felt like, hey, we made those mistakes and we figured it out. And I hope that that's a nice moment for them of like, wow, if we just don't spiral and we just stay locked in, good things will happen to us. Our best players will make crazy plays. We'll have Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams combined for 180 and 16 catches and 3 touchdowns. That's pretty effing cool. Like Brees Hall is going to be good. That's cool. Aaron Rodgers is, 17 to 20 or 15 or 18, whatever the numbers were, 173. That's cool. Will McDonald, Quinnen, and Reddick combined for 25 pressures, 4+ sacks. Like, this is kind of awesome. I guess in total, like, I just think that there was 2 moments. Rodgers said the moment where things could have spiraled, and then the way that they started that second half, you hope is the starting launching point for the season. And can you at least make it a little fun for the next couple of weeks before Thanksgiving?
Exactly. Just make it a little competitive. That's it.
Just give me something.
Just something, man. And you're so right, because there's like different categories of these plays that are going to win you or lose you the game. They're the plays that are like the boneheaded mistakes, and the ones that are easy to point out. The roughing the punter stuff on like 4th and 21, like all those little.
And what do you make of that with Earl Charles out of your curiosity? Because he makes one play. He ran through somebody yesterday on kickoff, and leveled 3 people, and I was like, that's grown man strength.
Exactly.
But then it's 1 or 2 errors every week that I don't. Do you think it's just playing so hard and trying so hard to make a play? What do you make of that?
So it's one thing that it's like the danger of a philosophy that Robert Saleh brought in, and I love, but it's dangerous with certain players, and that's if you're going to make a mistake, make it being over aggressive. Irv Charles is one of those players that is the exception, and you actually have to sit him down and just be like, all right, you need to start making smart plays. And it's at the risk of like, okay, he might not be as aggressive and he might not make the plays he was making before. So it's like, as a coach, you're just like, oh, I'm going to err on the side of him making good plays more than he makes the bad plays, but he's not right now. It's a lot of the negative plays more than, or at least it just seems like the timing of the negative plays seem to be really bad. So it's just, he's just being really aggressive and kind of overdoing it at times. And you just got to know the situation, time and place. 4th and 21. If it looks like I'm probably not going to get there, let me just chill out. Like, just get back, get back in coverage is fine. It's just, that part of the game just doesn't click for him. He's got to figure it out. But yeah, I think they love the positive plays, but it's like, yeah, that's the difference between a guy like that and a guy like, Hardy or somebody else is they're a little bit more aware of the, time and scenario, just the situation at hand. So yeah, it's tough. It's tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think with the Jets, it's like, between those plays and then the plays that Jets fans the plays that should give you hope are the plays that are left on the field. The positive plays that are just missed. That's when like, okay, if this clicks, it's a completely different game. You start to lock that in, all of a sudden those plays start to happen. It's like, okay, things look a little bit different. It's why we harp so long on the kicker stuff, because those are literal points that you were saying like, I'm just going to keep going with this guy, and you're just leaving it on the field. Like, it's those little things like that, if they'll start to click, all of a sudden the team looks completely different. All of a sudden things start flowing a little bit better, right?
Yeah, no, look, I think, I'm not going to air that out. But I would say in the locker room, there were the players feel the angst of the kicking thing. It's a real thing, man. Like, you look in Baltimore for years, and, even like when the Eagles are rolling, and they've always been rolling, but Jake Elliott was just like banging in 65-yard field goals. And it's like,
yes,
we get over the 50, we could be aggressive here, because I know no matter what, my kicker is going to is going to kick us in. And, Patriots obviously for years, and all these different teams, even the Jets in the last couple of years, like we used to joke about with Saleh, like, oh my God, he's playing, raised to freaking 6 points. But like, you felt so confident Greg was going to nail some of these kicks. And this year it was the direct opposite. I felt like if they didn't score a touchdown, like they weren't scoring. And,
right.
Obviously yesterday, I thought one of the bigger things too in the game was Ulbrich, the first game, I think, if I'm not mistaken, or the Pittsburgh game, went for 2 and went for 4th down a couple of times. I felt last week they kind of coached ultra conservative. They almost like they had that devil on their shoulder being like, oh, this Patriots team's bad. Like, we don't need to use motion. We don't need to do these things. And no, man, like, I like the Jets going for 4th downs a lot. Like, this defense at best, is really good at bending, not breaking. They just, that's who they are. And the way they were playing last night, I'd like to see them go forward. They have nothing to lose. I'd rather them go, like, Rodgers on 4th down is really good. Like, he can put you in a good situation. He's able to make a play. Even the play they won for in 4th down, they got bailed out with the penalty. Like, he kept it alive long enough that illegal contact happens, right? And I think as you mentioned, the plays that are left out there's some sacks left out there. Reddick is getting close, man. I know people don't want to buy in yet on Reddick, and I do not blame anyone for a second, because if he's here, they probably have another win already under their belt if he's here earlier in the season.
Yep.
But I don't know if he weighs over 200 pounds right now. I was pretty close to him last night, and I was like, this dude is light, but he looks really twitchy, like really, really twitchy. And Will McDonald is coming into his own as a legitimate, really good NFL pass rusher. Like, this isn't like a Jets fandom, hey, optimistic because the Badlands, draft season guys liked him coming out. Like, no, he's just he's second in the NFL in sacks. And like, Last night he could have had 4 or 5. He gets getting held on every play. I think those are the ones you look at on defense and on offense. Rodgers and Devontae, it felt like it clicked in the fourth quarter there. In the second half as a whole, something we don't talk about with Devontae, Dan, and that is a couple of times last night takes a 5-yard out, 5-yard hitch, and it's 12, 13 yards because he's so good after the catch. And
yes,
those are easy first downs, but the Jets they don't have that. Even Garrett's gotten better at it, but Garrett's still not to the point of where Devontae is. Where Devontae catches the ball, I don't expect him to go down on the first guy ever. I don't. And they missed, they missed each other twice, one on Rodgers, one on Devontae. But when you see that go in, I feel like for them, maybe that's okay. Now, we're back. We're feeling good. And yeah, and obviously Garrett was special last night, and he's been special a lot, the last 4 weeks, I guess, outside that Steelers second half where he obviously mentally got in his own head.
Yeah.
He's been putting up, I think Zach Rosenblatt tweeted, he's the last 4 or 5 games, his pace would be 120 catches, 1,600 yards, and 15 touchdowns, something like that, where this block of games, that's what you feel good about. You're just all right, the guys that are going to be here and going to impact this team and this roster going forward are making plays. That's what we need. It's not about, I don't know. You know what I mean? That to me gives you hope whether they make those playoff run or not. I want to see Garrett Wilson be Garrett Wilson. That's really cool to see that you can build on this guy.
Exactly. And that's what I love the most about yesterday's game, especially on offense, is during those really difficult periods, a lot of what kept them in the game was Quinton Williams just going absolutely berserk, destroying everybody in front of him on defense. Like you mentioned, Will and Reddick were getting in on pressures as well.
Quinton Williams is a bum, remember? That's what I get told in my mentions.
Bro, just wild. He was playing so pissed off. I love that version of him, man. Just running everyone over. And then on the flip side, Brees, quietly, solid game, keeping them alive on offense while things were not going as well, preventing the snowball from further snowballing. That's what you really want from those star players is yeah, there's adversity. I'm going to just give you the same output that I've been giving you this entire time and keep the team in the game. And that's exactly what they've needed on offense is for Brees and Garrett to be themselves. And yeah, let's talk about that second half because that so many things happened in the second half, but that catch, my goodness.
Yeah. The cool thing, there's 2 things. One, the reason it's better than the Odell catch is the Jets won the game.
Correct.
Could be the changing point in their season. I thought Kyle Brandt did a good piece on it this morning of maybe it won't matter down the line and maybe it'll just be one of those cool moments we tweet about of Jets Texans week, and you remember the Garrett catch. But I don't know, they go rattle off 2 in a row here. I'm looking directly at Cayenne Pepper and Garrett Wilson catching a one-handed touchdown in the end zone. Both more one-handed. It's the first time ESPN has tracked 2 one-handed touchdowns in the same game. I guess it's since 2017, but that was when tracking began, so I don't know how much further from there. The catch was literally coming directly towards, I was 10 rows or whatever it was from where he caught it, literally straight on line.
Yeah.
And before the play, I'm not bullshitting you. I was I wonder if they just chuck one up and try to get a PI ball here, which it should have been a PI. I mean, he got held.
He did.
Because I was Rodgers is smart. He knows pass interference in the end zone. All of a sudden, 3rd and 19 is first and goal from the 1 or whatever it is. And when Garrett caught it live, I thought he was in because it's hard to see, in real time, it's hard to see their feet when you're that close. I'm watching the catch. I was it was kind of a reaction of I think he caught that. And it looked clean. And then the second, they roll it incomplete right away. I don't know if people heard it on the broadcast. I watched the clip this morning. You hear Herbstreit be the fans think it's in because they show you right away, the shin's in. You're oh, this is a touchdown, dude.
Yeah.
It's more just is Sean Hockley going to throw up on himself because he has to roll, has to can't make it about himself. That catch was so special for so many different reasons, but that's just something the Jets have not done in such a long time where they don't ever throw that ball, right? 3rd and 19, right. They never throw the Joe Flacco YOLO. Mahomes does it all the time. It's one of the best plays in football. You're going to get the call, and the Jets didn't get the call in this scenario, but the point being what 3rd and 19 play are you running there that's getting you a first down. Probably that's really the only play you're getting, right? Or you break your hope that someone gets lucky. That might have changed that. I really hope that's the turning point in their season because it couldn't happen to a better dude. It couldn't have been a cooler play. And I don't know. I feel like the momentum with the Jets for the rest of that game, even amidst some of the dumb penalties, amidst some of the, Eric Watts, buddy, you can't touch the long snapper. Like, what are we doing? Not sure why that's like a 40-yard penalty, but whatever.
It's kind of wild, yeah.
But like the point being, that catch was nuts. And Garrett tried to play it cool. I used to do this in Little League. Dude, shut up. Like, just own it, bro. You know that was sick. Exactly. Like, hey, just own it. Just own it.
Exactly. Yeah, I love Devontae in post-game being like, yeah, no, he hit the Jumpman logo. I got to talk to him about switching sides.
Devontae had to bring up his speech again. This guy loves his speech, man. I don't know what he said in that speech, but by God.
Well, it's something crazy. Yeah. Hey, man, I just it's awesome because I feel like you just needed Brees and you needed Garrett to remember who they are. And like it feels like Garrett's starting to remember like, oh yeah, I'm that guy. Oh, okay, I get it now. I can remember somebody was talking about that about, the playoff baseball and just how much pressure was on star players. And I mean, we saw it, like a lot of the star players struggled throughout the postseason.
Unless you're Ohtani, you don't get to get any criticism.
That's kind of crazy. Cause like,
he was the worst player in that series. Yeah.
End of the whole series, he's kind of just chilling. Like, yeah, that was fun, right, guys? And I was like, that's it. We're never going to talk.
Didn't you go 2 for 22 and get thrown out stealing? No, that's okay.
It's kind of weird, but a bunch of star players just struggle because of the amount of pressure. It's crazy. And baseball's a way more like individual sport than football is at times because of like just the way the game goes. But
I feel like this team was pressing big time. Like,
yeah.
Rodgers was pressing, like, really pressing. Devontae was clearly trying to press. Like,
yeah.
Brees, I don't know if he just is healthier now. Maybe like going forward, we just expect that Brees is going to have a month during every season where you're like, are you good, man?
Exactly.
And then the rest of the time you're like, oh, you're a unicorn. This is awesome. Because it happened last year. Remember that? There was that Atlanta, Miami. It was a weird stretch where I was like, what is going on?
Dropped the toss.
Solid called him out. And then then the Washington game, it was like, oh, you're the best player on the field.
Exactly.
Okay. You're back. This is cool.
It's so weird. But like when they lock in, when they remember, it doesn't look like anything else you've seen. So you just need that from them on a consistent basis. And man, like Devontae, like he had I think one dropper or whatever, but bro,
the release package is
insane.
He literally dropped Kamari Lassiter on his ass on a 4th down.
With one move in the
Richard
release.
Sherman literally was like, "Why are you flat-footed? Like,
Bro.
What are you doing?"
Literally fell over. That is a young man. That's not a regular person. That's a young athletic man. Dropped him. Man, like if you're getting that version of Devontae and you're getting the elite version of Garrett, like Mike Williams just got it. All he has to do is know his assignment. That's it. In that wide receiver 3 spot, just know your assignment and you're good to go.
I don't know what's going on with Mike. I feel like confidence right now is low.
I think so.
I know we talked about a little bit about, I don't know why the Jets, sometimes they use Tyler Conklin in a way that I don't think is actually beneficial to him at all. Like, he's the best 50-50 tight end in the league, statistically. Like, it's just contested catch-wise. I'm not just because I like Conk. Like, it's just the truth. He can run the seam really well. And for some reason, they're like, hey, let's give you tight end screens where Mike Williams is going to try to get your head taken off because he's not going to block anybody. It's like, that's not maybe what we want here. Maybe like, that's the one downing thing I'll say. 72% motion last night, which was nice.
Much better. Yeah.
Why didn't they use motion against New England? I guess we'll never know.
We'll never know. We'll never know.
We'll never know. D, the one thing I wanted to hit on, and we kind of, Paul kind of teed this up to you, and I guess I'll tee it up to you on the show here. But the Jets last night, again, something they just rarely ever do. They get a bunch of offensive line injuries last night, interior wise, and you hope AVT with the 10 days can come back. Chris Glazer actually was playing pretty well. Just all things considered, like not bad at all. And Simpson gets the groin. Mitchell comes in at left guard. First play comes on the field was horrendous, and then he figured it out after that.
Yeah.
Olu has the one hold on Rodgers' best run of the year, but other than that, I thought it was really effective for a guy who's